Hello everyone, welcome to another YouTube video from Mr. Ted. We are going to be talking today about how to use Soundtrap to create a podcast with your classmates. I also have a planner that will help you guys get organized for recording of your podcast. So let's jump right into it. A quick tutorial on how to use Soundtrap for your podcast. You choose the little podcast button when you click into your Soundtrap Studio, and it'll set up a few things to help you get started with your podcast. I recommend everyone starts by adding tracks for however many people you have in your podcast. So let's say you have 3 people in your podcast, and you should have 3 microphones, and you can rename the microphones whatever you want. Person 1, person 2, person 3. Just click on that little 3 dots there and rename it. And now you're ready to start recording. Whoever starts or whoever is ready to start recording, when you're going to need to click the little red button here to enable the recording. And then to start recording, you actually still have to click this little red button here. So let's pretend I'm starting my podcast. Welcome everyone to our podcast. We are here to start talking about, so that's how you would record, and then whoever wants to talk next, they can use this tool here to start and stop at different times throughout your track. So let's say I want to start exactly where person 1 left off and I'm person 2. I would just move the time starter here, and then when I click record, it's gonna start recording at exactly that time. And then that's basically how you do it. If you decide, hey, like we actually want to add a musical intro, then you can always move your audio tracks further down, and then you can add a piano and create a little musical intro with your piano. Or you could, let's say I want to delete that track and I want to add a loop. They actually have a few different sound effects or musical intros that you could use to start. Some of them are kind of funny, like baby crying or ambulance, or it's pretty awesome all the different sound effects that they have in here, because sound effects are definitely part of radio and podcasting world. Here's the air horn. Oh, it's loading. There we go. So you can be creative with all the different sound effects. You can create your own musical intro. And that kind of leads me to the podcast planner that I created. I'm going to have this posted, and you guys can always make a copy of any Jamboard that I create so that you can edit it. So like, let's say your team wanted to take this planner and actually type into it to add and get organized. Here are the kind of basic elements of a podcast that it's can be useful to think about before you start recording. You can always come back to this even after you start recording to get organized. You kind of want to decide, well, what is your podcast going to be about? And then how are you going to introduce your podcast? Are you going to hook your audience with music, a joke, a special message? You're also, you have typically have hosts, one or two, or maybe even more people who are your regular participants in the podcast who are always there and who host the show, kind of like it's a little party. And then you usually have guests, people who join the show uh, maybe just once or frequently, who are not the hosts. And then usually there's a plan or an agenda for each podcast, and the host will go over, hey, here's what we're going to talk about today, and they kind of list the topics, and then they move through the topics throughout the show. So I recommend that you think about these questions and elements of a podcast as you start working, before you start working, whatever makes sense to you. So thank you for listening to this video about how to make podcasts for your music and podcasting enrichment class and with Soundtrap. Good luck, everyone. I'm excited to see what you create.